if I go into an establishment where I'm about to sit down and eat, if I walk through the door and it has that old mop smell to it, I walk right back out. Because that's telling me that if you won't clean your mop water, bitch, you won't take care of your food. Bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about me, and visit uptopbeauty.com. Today's lip, y'all, is straight from uptopbeauty.com. It's this chuggy. Ooh. Now, let's finish continuing talking about brothers B.O. like George. Ain't that funkin' kinda hard on ya? I think this is part 13 or 14. I don't know, y'all. I don't know.
We had rivalries with other bands to some degree. Or, at the very least, we were careful to always look around and keep track of the competition. The biggest black group, other than us, was Earth, Wind, and Fire. Though we were profoundly different, they had decided early on that they were going to abandon hard funk for crossover pop.
Although that didn't stop them from hiring Jules Fisher, the same guy who had made the mothership for us to design the pyramids for their stage show. That's just like the wig dude, Alonzo Arnold. Y'all know he bad as but Alonzo, I see you. I see you, brother. You and Marlo Hampton, y'all got the same booster bitch. Please give me her number. That's just like somebody going to somebody. Who did your wig? I love it. It's laid. Oh, go to Alonzo Arnold. He can work. So you mean to tell me that person would assume that I'm trying to, what's that word? Jock them? Because, do y'all still say jock? But jock them because I decided to use the dude who is popular with wigs right now? Man, get the fuck out of here. George Clinton be lunching, bruh. They had decided early on that they were going to abandon hard funk for crossover pop. Although that didn't stop them from hiring Jules Fisher, the same guy who had made the mothership for us to design the pyramids for their stage show. Why wouldn't they? It don't mean that they jocking your style. It just means that they like the work of Jules Fisher. There were up-and-coming acts like Cameo and Rick James who toured with us, along with veteran soul groups like the Bar-Kays, who remade themselves a funk band. Casablanca was nothing but drugs. You answered the phone with cocaine in your nose, but it wasn't like we were doing anything strange for the time. Cocaine was the diet of the day. Hollywood was doing it, Wall Street was doing it, Main Street was doing it. You'd go to lunch with a record executive, and midway through the meal, he'd take a little bottle of Coke from his pocket and empty it on the table and do a line. Listen, okay, I'm gonna go to the left and I'm gonna come back. One time I was at this party, right? Okay. I mean, it was all up at that party, but the flyest of the fly, you hear me, was at that party, okay? Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. The flyest of the fly, okay? And I'm not gonna say what girls it is because I don't want no action from them broads over there. Flyest of the fly, you know. At the time I was sober, you know. I ain't really drink like that, you know. I wasn't eating my edibles, nothing. Child, I went into the bathroom to go pee. I went into the wrong bathroom. Went in that mother hunchy baby, okay? And when I tell you them girls was leaned over snorting up that cocaine, that's not what I do. All right, because this nose is big enough. All right, the last thing I need is for, you know, to burn all the hair out my nose and you know, it be like a hole up there. I don't have time for that. I already got enough sinus problems. But coke wasn't the only drug. Most musicians smoked weed regularly, and few did harder shit like heroin or angel dust. The best drug of them all was Quaaludes. I don't know what a Quaalude is. All I know is that when Scarface and Michelle Pfeiffer's character was arguing on the movie Scarface, what's Scarface's name? Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer were arguing on Scarface. She was pissed at him for something. I don't know why. But he leaned back and said, "It's okay. Another Quaalude?" And she'll call me in the morning. Or was it love me? Now, the way he describes it is Quaalude. Quaaludes is a hell of a drug. That pot of donuts would hinder a man's performance, okay? But them Quaaludes got them ninjas ready to go. Ow. That was Casablanca's main drug besides coke. And it was nothing but pussy. That drug made you want to screw. And if you were lucky enough to spend an evening with it, screwing is exactly what you do. You'd end up with a pretty young secretary or a backup singer or maybe a booger wolf. He said the drug was so crazy that you would wake up with booger wolves. Okay, you would wake up scared, but at the time when you was lunching off the Quaalude, it didn't matter. All you know is you just took her in the back room and knocked her down, okay? Until you woke up in the morning. Child, they do that with liquor. I was staying with Charlie Vaseline right up on top of Kings Road on Hollywood Boulevard. And we would hear these insanely loud pre-dawn fights. Some rich chick out there at 4 in the morning screaming, "I want cocaine." There was one girl in particular who did it all the time, and she was down the road from the house of Paul Lynde. You know Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde used to do a lot of cartoon voiceovers for Hanna-Barbera. He also was a somewhat permanent fixture on the old school game show Hollywood Squares. Okay, Paul Lynde, he was a gay man, but like I said before, back then, it wasn't something that you can just outwardly do, okay? The people in the circle knew, but, it wasn't like they presented it to, the mass. He would open up his window and with the maximum amount of gay attitude, shout right back at her, "Shut the fuck up, bitch!" Sex check, drugs check, rock and roll check. The only thing that really got under my skin was the materialism of the time. I had always lived as a gypsy. I didn't even own a house. All I had was a 2-bedroom apartment in Detroit on 8 Mile. Nigga, was this the 8 Mile before the 8 Mile? How you a big star and you living in the hood? Ownership struck me as vaguely silly. Once around that time or a little later, I ran into Satch. You know Satch. Grabby, sticky fingers, stealing people's money right up underneath their nose and they don't know what's going on. He said that he ran into, what's his name? Clarence Satchel. Satchel wasn't being honest with the entire group about how much money was coming in. Clarence Satchel was taking some of the money that belonged to the band and spending it on bitches. I ran into Satch, who played sax and guitar for the Ohio Players. The record company had bought him a $35,000 bracelet that read Ohio Players in chip diamond lettering. He was showing it off proudly, and I just didn't understand it. What were you going to do with a thing like that? Years later, I went over to his house, and that bracelet was on his mantle. But he wasn't in the group anymore. For me, that was a symbol of how priorities could get twisted. What makes you happy is the drugs, okay? So the same way you may look at a person like me, who, deals with a Chanel addiction every day, like why is she spending so much money on that bullshit, okay? I'm looking at you like, why are you wasting all your money on drugs, brother? You're going to be senile before you are 40. Bootsy's second rubber band album, the name is Bootsy Baby, came out. in January 1977. Of all the albums I worked on during that time, The Name is Bootsy Baby is one of the highlights. It was the first P-Funk album to hit #1 on the Billboard R&B, and it made it into the top 20 on the pop charts. We had been told that movie studios were looking at us for a film like David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust and The Spider from Mars, a documentary that would combine on-stage footage and backstage looks. Originally, it was going to be directed by Robert Downey. I think he means Robert Downey Sr., not Junior. Okay. But he dropped out, and a new group came around that included a guy named Cy Libanoff and another one named Nene Montez. Oh, that Nene Montez! Just wait for it. Nene had a slick 70s look, casually fashionable and countercultural, like a kind of Serpico figure. Nene had to get rid of the dude Cy because Cy made the cardinal mistake of confusing George with Bernie. Okay? No. Answer no. How you going to work with a band and you don't even know the difference between the ninjas? Nene was constantly filming footage, but very quickly he established himself as more than a cameraman. One day in 1977, we were scheduled to play at the LA Coliseum. Fans were lined up around the block starting at noon. In the early afternoon, the roof collapsed, or partly collapsed, right? George Clinton is getting all these calls. Listen, we got this huge concert tonight and we cannot perform because part of the roof caved in. George Clinton got himself together and ran down to the venue. By the time he got there, he seen this large crane holding up part of the ceiling, okay? Now, when he was on his way there, he's thinking there's no way that we're going to do this show because I don't want to endanger my players, my members of P-Funk, and I don't want to endanger the audience, right? But when he got there and saw that this crane was holding the roof up, he didn't understand what was going on. What happened was the dude, Nene, had jumped into action. He ran around the street, seen a construction site, and hired the crane operator to go back to the venue and hold up part of the roof. Ding! No! You mean to tell me you would go into an establishment where a crane is holding up the roof over top of you? Answer effing no. I don't care. I don't care. Nay, the crane can hold it. Nay, that's how they do stuff with buildings. I don't give a. How in the heck do you expect for me to be comfortable? I would be playing. I don't understand how George was okay with that. I don't understand how the audience was okay with that. No. Maybe in my younger years, I probably would have did it because I was stupid as hell. But as an adult, no. Matter of fact, let me tell you something. I'm going left and I'm coming back, okay? If I go into an establishment where I'm about to sit down and eat, if I walk through the door and it has that old mop smell to it, I walk right back out. Because that's telling me that if you won't clean your mop water, bitch, you won't take care of your food. Prince was in the audience for that concert, and neither he nor anyone else had to deal with a falling roof. I was so grateful at first that I didn't notice how fond he was of the divide and conquer strategy. After the Coliseum incident, for example, it wasn't enough for Nene to take credit for going to get the crane. He also had to make sure that I knew that everyone else wasn't taking the situation seriously. And to prove it, by showing me film he had taken of the promoters standing around there pointing up at the partially collapsed roof and laughing. Every job Nene did came with something attached to it. Usually the implication that other people didn't have my best interest at heart. The situation was complicated by the fact that Nene refused to take a salary. He stressed that he didn't work for anyone. That seemed strange, but I looked past it at first, especially since he had no problem running up a huge fucking expense account. But as time went on, something about his unwillingness to be straightforward unnerved me. If someone isn't taking money, they're taking something else. And it's probably something you can't see. Dinner's ready. Hey, and the wine is chilled. Ooh. Hey, my baby's coming over, and you know just what I feel. Hey, I won't want to lose your love. In the late 60s and early 70s, whenever I got ready to move into the next P-Funk project, I convened what I call a Funkathon, a rambling, open conversation about the ideas circulating that would eventually produce an album. We talked through all aspects and concepts to ensure that we didn't miss a trick. By 1977, the Funkathons were a little different for me. The early years of strategizing and brainstorming had gotten me too much in love with Eddie, Bill, Tall, Tiki, and Calvin. We were too emotionally tied. Oh my God, listen, I love you, Kansas. I do. As they left one by one, I found that I couldn't do it anymore. I had great admiration and affection for the new band members coming in, Michael, Tyrone, and Gary. But the first ring had been so tight around me, like family, that it was like my heart was broken. Them damn Kansas, man. Oh my gosh, they will. Nene noticed that I was withdrawing a little from the group and took it as a sign or an opportunity. He started taking the lead in introducing new ideas and challenging me to think through the various things that were circling in my brain. He was pretty new to the P-Funk world, but he had a talent for establishing himself quickly. One day, Nene brought around a guy who was famous, a centurion priest. Okay. Now, first of all, let me go back a bit. George, Nene was gaslighting you. Nene was making you second guess yourself. It's people out here like your supervisors, because sometimes your supervisor will gaslight you. Let's get back to this centurion priest. Okay, let me tell you why the priest had a problem with P-Funk. Okay, the priest needed to understand why, the aura that surrounded P-Funk seemed demonic, okay? George Clinton sat down with the priest and started to explain his perception of what he was doing. I ain't trying to worship the devil or nothing like that. That's not what I'm saying. P-Funk is so much bigger than what anybody on earth will understand. You got that right. So now they at the meeting, okay? And while George Clinton is sitting there, conversing back and forth with the priest, the dude Nene is sitting there, and Nene was writing down one word, like placebo, on a note, and passing it to George Clinton. George Clinton said that Nene, dirty ass, figured out that songs grew out of one word, placebo, okay? Or what was this other word? Intellectual. Well, he figured it out. Okay, so he found a way to manipulate George Clinton early. So what would this new album do with these two ideas? Maybe funk itself was a form of evolution. Maybe if you refused to participate in it, you were holding yourself back. We had already created and deployed Starchild, an agent of interplanetary funk. Did he have the secret for improving the species? Funketeer by Funketeer, there had always been a strain of self-actualization in our music, though it had also always been sharpened by humor and irony and dirty jokes. That was one of the two songs we thought of as singles. The other one was Flashlight. This is what I need to know from y'all, and I need y'all to put this below, okay? I want to know, when you guys go to what we call cabaret back homes or parties, whatever it is that you go to when you promote an event, and you're just using a DJ instead of a act or group or something like that. We call them cabarets back home. But I want to know, when you guys go to a party, is flashlight a party starter for y'all the way it is for us? Now, if you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, and subscribe, because it is so important to our success here on the YouTube. Now remember this, the same people that you meet on the way up will always be the same people that you meet on the way down. My naysayers, my patron loves. You babies have a good one. This is a chance. This is a chance.